General Motors announced this morning that it will be investing $63 million at its Oshawa plant. The money will go toward upgrading the facility ahead of the arrival of the next generation of pickup trucks. So joining us now is Jack Uppal, President and Managing Director of General Motors Canada. It's good to have you join us. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you for having us.
So with this investment that was announced today, I'm wondering, how does this plan and this investment contribute to GM's broader strategy?
Lindsay, the announcement today is actually a reaffirmation of General Motors' commitment both to the Oshawa Assembly and to Canada. We announced a $280 million investment to bring in the next generation of pickup trucks to Oshawa and Canada. And this incremental $63 million reaffirms that commitment both to the plant and to the overall General Motors footprint in Canada.
You say it shows the commitment to General Motors in Canada. Obviously, it's been a rough ride for a lot of workers that worked at that Oshawa plant. We know 700 employees laid off last month. I'm wondering, will any of this money bring back some of those jobs?
Lindsay, the announcement that we're making today actually reaffirms and will be managed through the two-shift adjustment that we announced a few weeks back. The employees impacted with the third shift change was roughly about 500 of them. And we continue to work with our union and our partners at the plant to ensure a strong transition with an appropriate level of support as they transition from GM.
So is that, I'm not sure what the answer is there. Does that mean that there won't be more jobs added in the near future?
No, the current investment will be managed by the two-shift announcement that we've already had in place.
Got it. Okay, so when it comes to this funding, where it comes from, just going on the layoffs one last time before we move on from that, because it was such a big story here in Ontario a couple of weeks ago. Was any of this funding, did that come from any of the savings that GM acquired from all those layoffs?
No, that's absolutely not how it works. Our investments are part of a much longer, broader, long-term strategy. As the next generation pickup trucks are coming into Oshawa, the incremental investment is to solidify and expand what's going to happen within that portfolio. So it's not related at all to the adjustments that were made to the third shift.
Okay, so let's move on then, because obviously this investment today is to help preparations to ramp up the production of the next generation of pickup trucks that are coming out of this plant. Correct me if I'm wrong. Last year, the Oshawa plant saw more than 135,000 pickup trucks produced. How many do you expect to see throughout the year of 2026?
Again, Lindsay, it's not a number that that I can share. It really depends on how the demand goes. We are in a transition year. So as we complete the current generation and plan to start the production of the next generation, that and the consumer demand will really define, how many units are produced. Obviously, our objective is always to maximize and build as much capacity as we have available. So as we've harmonized and gone to a two-shift operation, our efforts will be to maximize and produce every possible unit that we can as we transition from the current generation to the next generation.
Can you talk a little bit more about this next generation? Because as I understand it, this pickup truck is the most profitable for GM. Is that correct?
It's a great truck for us, and the customers really, really love it.
So what does that say then about the future maybe for the Oshawa plant if we're, assembling more of these pickup trucks that are so profitable for General Motors at this plant?
Lindsay, as I started, it is, we make these decisions. These are long-term decisions. If you look at the current generation truck, it's been building here, almost for half a decade. When we make a commitment for the next generation, obviously we make long-term decisions into these investments. We've deployed over $280 million for the next generation. The new $63 million brings us up to almost $260 million of investment to drive the next generation launch. And again, the longevity of it is obviously how long the generation is going to be, but more importantly, it's also driven by the consumer demand. And as long as the demand for these great trucks is there and we continue to build them, that commitment remains with Oshawa.
We know that the federal government launched a new auto policy at the beginning of this year that would reward companies for manufacturing vehicles on this side of the border here in Canada. Does the investment today in the strategy have anything to do with that announcement?
First of all, we were very pleased to see a lot of clarity come out of the government on the new auto policy. We applaud them for that. The investments, again, if you look, as I've said, today's investment or the investments that we've made previously are all made primarily on consumer demand and what's the right footprint for General Motors to meet its consumers and where to build the product most effectively and efficiently. And then we work around the policy, and we've always made it work. I would say the new auto policy does provide a lot of clarity, especially when it comes to EVs and infrastructure, and we welcome that clarity.
Yeah, clarity is something I think a lot of people would love to see right now, especially when we look ahead to the renegotiation of CUSMA, which is coming up this summer. Obviously, all eyes on that. We know that the CEO of Ford has said that the North American Free Trade Agreement is vital to production of vehicles here in Canada. I'm wondering how you feel about how important CUSMA is for General Motors here in Canada.
Lindsay, General Motors has we've been committed to Canada, and we've been a long-standing commitment there for over 100 years. The renewed CUSMA agreement would deliver a competitive landscape for the entire North American industry. So we're very hopeful that, we come to an agreement. It is a critical piece of how we've operated over the last, 2 or 3 decades. The North American automotive ecosystem is fully integrated, and the CUSMA basically sets us up for even a stronger North American automotive sector and makes us, really globally competitive. So it is a critical piece of how North American automotive market is going to move forward.
Also, just before I let you go, I know that General Motors in the past, had some EVs that were being manufactured out of this plant in Oshawa. Obviously, with everything that happened last year, what with the tariffs, that manufacturing was shut down. But also from the federal government announcing some new incentives when it comes to EV purchase incentives, new EV infrastructure. Do you have any plans, or do you know if there's any plans maybe in the future for manufacturing of EVs to ramp up again at the plant in Oshawa?
No, Lindsay, we don't have anything to announce as far as changing our manufacturing footprint. But what I would say is, again, the automotive policy allows for a new consumer incentive and infrastructure, both of which drive adaptation. And if we look at last year, General Motors was the leader in the Canadian market, being the #1 EV OEM in the country. So we really welcome that news, and we see a stronger demand for our EVs right across the board, meeting every purse across the Canadian landscape. So it's really great news.
Yeah, going to be interesting to see what happens in the future. I'll leave it there. Jack Uppal, President and Managing Director of GM Canada. I appreciate you joining us today. Thanks so much.